Welcome to Smart Money Moves, simple strategies to help savvy women build wealth at every stage of life. My name is Valerie Bryce Brooks, and I'm the CEO and Chief Strategist at Bryce Brooks Consulting. We are a full service consulting firm helping business owners, professionals, and entrepreneurs build the businesses and careers of their dreams while designing and financing the retirement of their dreams. I am so excited to be here with you today to talk about some very important things in the financial world. And I want to thank Selena Dorsey and her incredible team for this opportunity to present at the Empowered Women in Business Summit. Now, a little bit about me. I'm a licensed life insurance broker and a life and business coach who takes a holistic and solution focused approach to financial planning. When you work with me, you have a dedicated partner committed to your success, and we'll get very creative, finding affordable strategies to help you reach and surpass your financial goals. Our company's mantra is all roads lead to retirement. Because truthfully, if we live long enough, we may all spend a decade or two in this beautiful phase of life, and why not make it fabulous? Ladies, we have an exciting agenda for our time together today. We'll be discussing the unique sex. What makes women different when it comes to their finances? We'll also take a look at the concept of wealth and define it for our purposes today. Then we'll take a deep dive into 9 steps to building wealth and smart money moves that no one is talking about. By this time in our presentation, you may be feeling like you're way off track. There's no way you can catch up. But we're going to discuss some effective strategies that you can implement right away if that is in fact your circumstances. And lastly, we will do a quick review and discuss ways you can get started right away on your wealth building journey. I absolutely love this quote by Otega Uwagba. Being financially literate is a powerful thing, especially for women. And the goal is not to try to learn everything you possibly can about money or wealth, but to know how to apply the concepts you learn to your individual situation to get the results that you desire. You might be asking yourself, what do I mean by wealth? By wealth, I mean abundance. And this abundance gives us a state of mind and circumstances that allow us to have true time freedom, independence, and power. And when we have this type of wealth, we're able to pass that status and that potential on to our family for generations to come. It truly is a state of mind. Women, we are truly unique. Now, we all know that men and women are different. That's no surprise. But did you know that we have significantly different financial experiences across our lifetimes? On the surface, it may seem that women have an equal opportunity to build wealth the same as men. But do we really? Let's take a look. Now, as the unique sex, we have unique financial challenges. First, we deal with inequality. Despite the plethora of advancements made to level the playing field, women still make less than men. We make 82 cents for every $1 that a man makes. What's crazy is that this gap widens every year. We start to notice it when women are around 39 years of age because they've often left the workforce to have children and raise their families, and it peaks somewhere between 55 and 64 for women. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, in 2019, a typical woman who has worked from age 16 to 70 will make in her lifetime $590,000 less than a man. In addition, we don't seek promotions and raises at the same rate that men do. As women, we want to feel comfortable that we have 100% of the eligible criteria for the position before we'll apply, while a man only needs to feel that he is 60% eligible before he'll take that chance. So this reflects a serious lack of confidence in us. We also have family obligations. We tend to have gaps in our career because of childbirth, raising our families, caring for aging parents, etc., while only a minority of men have these obligations. We also now have to factor in those emotional chores, things like planning birthday parties, play dates, family gatherings, cleaning and running households. All of these additional duties add up to approximately 5 years of unpaid work. We do it all. We really do. The overall financial impact of this is that we tend to invest less and save less for our retirement. We earn less total income. We contribute less to our Social Security, and we save less consistently for retirement. Overall, we retire with 2/3 of the savings as men. And at the same time, we live 5 years longer. So you can see that this can become a significant problem. This brings us to the pink tax. The bottom line is that we pay more than men do for most necessities and personal items. These are things like baby girl clothes and toys, our dry cleaning, mortgages, body wash, razors, and even laxatives. Yes, the pink coated pills cost $2.20 more than the plain ones because our stomachs are special, right? This adds up to an additional $1,350 a year, and according to my calculations, from what they're telling me, I'm going to pay an additional $76,000 than a man my age over my lifetime. So we have got to hashtag the pink tax. What are some smart money moves that we can make? Number one, assess yourself to see where you may need to build your confidence. Working with a coach can be helpful with that. Next, seek balance in your life. We have to say no, we have to set boundaries. We need to learn how to ask for help and how we can outsource some of our duties and responsibilities both at home and at work. Lastly, again, a no-brainer, hashtag Axe the Pink Tax. Shop wisely. The following 9 steps are the same for men and for women. So how can we powerfully build wealth with all the unique challenges that we have? We must be knowledgeable, confident, intentional, consistent, and persistent in order to powerfully apply these steps. Women and women who coach women and mentor women should encourage their sisters, their friends, and their clients to be bold and courageous in the pursuit of our dreams and goals. That's it. We just have to. We should need to do what we can to step out of our comfort zones, follow our heart's desire, and go for those positions and promotions that we would not have ordinarily aspired to. Go ahead and start your business. What is your biggest dream? One of the things that I'm committed to is that people don't leave this earth with a bundle of regret. Let's take a look at how we can make your dreams come true now. Many resources will tell you that the first thing you should do on your path to wealth is to set goals and make a budget and develop a plan of action. And these are great steps, and we will talk about them. But there's one thing that you must do first to ensure that you are truly prepared to be successful. You must mind your mindset. Ask yourself the following questions. Am I saving money? Am I living the life that I want? Why am I living paycheck to paycheck when I make a really decent salary? Am I excited about my future? Am I excited about retirement? What is blocking me from success? In this step, You want to uncover and resolve your bad habits, fears, and blocks around money and managing your finances. You want to celebrate where you are. There's no shame here. And declare that today is going to be different. Today, I'm going to do whatever it takes to heal my relationship with money, to end procrastination, laziness, lack of confidence, and fear. If you're already financially successful, this exercise will actually solidify that and take you even further. But whatever you do not skip this step. Stay here as long as you need to. And there's layers to this. So it's not a one-stop shop. You won't get it right the first time. You won't be complete the first time you go through some exercises to figure out what your mindset is, but keep going. It's worth it. Having a growth mindset is the key to building wealth. Like most coaches, I have several resources that I recommend my clients to use for their personal and professional development, things that they can do on their own. And they do this in a variety of ways. It could be blogs, it could be podcasts, books and videos. It could be by attending seminars and workshops like you're doing today. And also, you must take advantage of your commute times. Turn your car into your drive time university. One of the three books that I love to recommend is a book entitled Worthy by Nancy Levin. Nancy Levin is an integrative life coach, and she says that the real key to creating financial freedom is not in what you do, it is in how you feel. And that requires more than just learning how to invest. She says that the state of our net worth is a direct reflection of our self worth. And she does such a great job with so many wonderful exercises to help you get to the root of the problem and replace those feelings of unworthiness with a stronger sense of your own value. I love this book and I recommend it to so many people. The second book I recommend is 55 Underemployed and Faking Normal. So many people are right here. Elizabeth White, who's a native of DC, and she's approximately 58 years old now, went through a time where she was at the top of her game. She worked for the World Bank, she had advanced degrees from Harvard and Johns Hopkins, and then she decided to take some time away to start her own business. When the business failed, she tried to re-enter the workforce and was met with a lot of no thank yous. Unable to get back into her career at the level she was, she had to make some significant changes. She was now underemployed, not making the money that she was used to. So she got a roommate. She quit the gym. She stopped going out to restaurants. And still, it wasn't quite enough. But one thing she realized is that there are millions of Americans in the same boat who have the same problem. And she wrote this book because she wanted to take the shame and stigma away from being unprepared for these life changes. I mean, imagine being underemployed, too old, you're being aged out of your career and you can't retire. That is not a good feeling. So what I'm dedicated to is to make sure that we don't go through this. And it's not just a baby boomer problem. Gen X is right behind us with the same situation. So it's time to talk about this. Lastly, we have The 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. This is a radical book. It was radical back in 2007 when it first came out. In his book, he explores how you can just escape the 9 to 5, do something crazy, live anywhere in this world you want to, and become one of the new rich. I love this book because it helps people start to think about other ways of living. We shouldn't just be putting one foot in front of the other from the nursery to the nursing home. That's how I feel. Step 2 is a very effective strategy when financial goal setting. Let's say your goal is to have the most amazing retirement ever. You live on a yacht part of the time, you spend several months in other countries, you have a few different homes, your rental property and your investments are doing well, and you have a really awesome portfolio. You are not worried about money at all. But how do you get there? Sometimes it's good to know the target goals along the way, those that are recommended, so that you can stay on course. In his 2019 article in Kiplinger magazine, Jamie Hopkins wrote an article entitled, Are You on Track? Financial Planning Goals for Each Decade of Life. And I love this because it really just makes point after point and narrows it down so you don't have to guess. It's all right there. Now, of course, these numbers will vary depending on who you are and what your goals are. And I do want to warn you that you might want to sit down for this part of the presentation. Before I talk about the smart money moves that we should be doing at each decade, there are some that I want to make sure I talk to you about that we should be doing no matter what, and we should do them as early as possible. First, you should get personal life insurance. Start with what you can afford, even if it's a small term policy, and then upgrade it to one of the more robust permanent plans as you grow in your business or career. Now, this is imperative even if you have an employer plan, something that you have as a benefit with your job. Why? Because your employer plan is usually a group plan and it is usually a term policy. That means that is going to end when you leave your job. Now, there's some exceptions. There's some exceptions if you work for the federal, state, or local government. Outside of that, though, your plan will generally end once you leave your job. Additionally, your coverage is usually only one time times your salary, and even if you buy some of the supplemental insurance plans that can come along with it, it may not be enough to meet the recommended 10 times your income that we say you need if you have dependents, a spouse, or a family. Now, since some of the newer plans also allow for the accumulation of tax-free wealth that you can use for college funding, buying a home, investing, starting a business, and use it for your emergency plan, and also as supplemental income for retirement, getting a personal plan just makes sense. Look into it. Talk to a professional to see what newer permanent policy will really help you meet your goals. Now, in addition to the financial benefit of these plans, there are some living benefits that I have to tell you about. If you get chronically or critically ill, life insurance policies now allow you to take a tax-free benefit from your life insurance to cover your expenses. This protects your home and other assets. One of the biggest reasons that people in the United States file bankruptcy remains the cost of medical expenses and loss of time from work due to medical illness. So if you have a life insurance policy that you can go to get $200,000 or $300,000 to help you with your medical expenses, maybe help you with um, being part of getting into assisted living and those types of things, it can be a godsend. So that's why it's really important to look into getting private and personal insurance. Secondly, you should look at getting disability insurance in case you are unable to work. It will help replace your income. You also want to start an emergency fund and think about getting your estate documents in place. When I say estate documents, people generally think, I don't have anything. I don't own a home. I don't have children. Why do I need a will? Well, we'll talk about a will a little bit later, but a will has several components that benefit even young people. As you get older, you want to think about protecting your money. When you're young and you have all the time in the world to make up for losses in your investments, as we get older, we should all be thinking about protecting our money by putting it into a vehicle like an annuity. Now, there's a lot more that we could talk about. We'll do so in our one-on-ones because everybody's goals are a little bit different. But those are just some things that I think all of us need to have in place, no matter what age we are. Now, let's take a look at the smart money moves. In your 20s, this is where you should invest in yourself. Ask yourself, do I need to get my master's degree? Do I need some professional certifications? Think about putting some time in now to make yourself the best, position yourself to be the best that you can be. You also want to save by the end of your 20s 1 to 3 times your starting salary. Also, we talked about personal life insurance. Definitely put that in place in your 20s. In your 30s, you want to be managing your debt. Now, that means you want to look at your expenses. Start reducing your debt. Definitely don't try to add more credit cards and other debt. You also want to begin to, if you haven't already, contribute to your retirement plans and max those things out. In your 40s, you want to build your wealth. These are your peak earning years. So really go for it in your 40s, get those promotions and raises, launch your business, go for it. This is the best time to really build your wealth. During your 40s, you want to save 6 to 10 times your income, and you want to make sure that you have your estate documents in place. In your 50s, this is when you want to begin to think about retirement. Oh, take a look at your finances just to make sure you are saving enough. And if you have a gap, how will you fill that gap so you can be able to retire when you'd like to? You also want to figure out how much you want to be spending in your retirement. Let's say you want to spend $50,000 a year in retirement. Well, the recommended amount having saved is $1.25 million. So that is something, to take a look at. Now, a lot of us won't be on track for that during that time, but that's where we can take some creative steps to bridge that gap. And also in your 50s, you want to protect the money that you do have by putting it into an annuity. Now we're at our 60s, and we have that big question of, do I even want to retire? Like, when will I retire? Do I want to work at my job part-time for a few years? Do I want to quit and start doing something else? Do I have a hobby or a skill that I want to monetize by being, maybe you want to be a consultant. Maybe you want to start your own business. But these are the times you decide when that date is going to be. And it's a great time to have those conversations. I believe you can create anything you want for your retirement. Now, this in your 60s, you also want to decide when you're going to take your Social Security. That's an extremely important question. And you also want to decide what the rest of your life is going to look like in your 70s and beyond. These are the great years. This is what you've been working for. You should be able to enjoy life. Now, if you're like Elizabeth White and you've had some setbacks and you really aren't able to retire, we can talk about making how we're going to bridge those gaps in income, maybe work a little bit longer, but still we want to make sure that you have a retirement that you can enjoy and that you will love. Step 3, creating a financial plan. Now, if you can't tell, this is the part of my business that I love the most. Helping clients create a robust, comprehensive financial plan that's going to incorporate their personal and business goals is just, it just makes sense to me. It just makes sense. This financial plan is the best guide you'll ever have to know if you'll potentially outlive your money. Your budget can't do that for you. Your budget is going to give you a look at your immediate future, but your financial plan is going to give you that long-term um, outlook that is going to be really critical in the decisions you make moving forward. Your financial plan is going to incorporate things like inflation, salary increases you may have along the way. It can help you determine the best time to take your Social Security. You don't want to take it too early if you don't have to because you're locked into a lower amount. It will help us determine how much taxes you'll pay in your lifetime if you stick with certain strategies. Sometimes we can change things up so that we can reduce your tax liability. And that's really one of the most important things. It can also help us to manage the IRS mandates, one of which is the required minimum distributions that you have to take at the age of 72. We can also factor in ideas you have about additional streams of income to see which one of those or which combination of those makes the most sense for your financial goals to get you where you're trying to go. Now, we can also look at varying scenarios so we can help you determine when will be the best time to purchase a home. And we can also look at what your investment opportunities, how they will work in your favor. And make sure that you're putting the right combination of things together and not just throwing things at the wall, seeing if they can stick. Lastly, with your financial plan, you can really take a look to figure out the optimal time for you to retire. And you'll get a chance to see what that retirement could look like financially. While a comprehensive financial plan is your best guide to know if you're going to outlive your money, hands down, your budget is the foundation of your financial success. What do I mean by that? It doesn't matter how you keep your budget. You can keep it in a notebook, a fancy spreadsheet, or you can use any app out there. You can even write your budget in your hand. It doesn't matter. Do what works best for you. But your budget is important because it's going to help you measure your progress. It's going to help you track things in real time. So whatever method you use one that you love because you will be working with your budget very, very often. To have a successful budget, you're going to need to know your net income. You're going to need to know your variable expenses such as food and entertainment, and then your fixed expenses like a car payment or rent or your mortgage. Then you're going to set small, realistic goals, and we can base those off of your financial plan. Like immediately, you may know that you need to reduce your debt, and you also know that you should start with a financial plan. So we'll be able to review those and track those inside of your budget. Your budget really is your best friend. Now, I know my homeowners understand the value of having an emergency fund for those unexpected expenses. I mean, who hasn't woken up to the boiler being broken, the dishwasher not working, having a plumbing issue, the car breaking down? All of these things are just a part of life sometimes. But by having an emergency fund, means start with 3 months, move up to 6 months, 9 months, and ultimately a year's worth of your expenses to make sure that you are not having to put your emergencies on your credit card. This is just a cycle you want to avoid at all costs because you will never get out of debt reduction mode. And the goal is to have abundance, which means adding on, accumulating, enjoying your wealth. So having an emergency fund is one of the best strategies to help you move forward quickly. 6, reducing your debt. Taking on your debt is not for the faint of heart. It really isn't. It can create a lot of fear and panic when we take a look at what our debt truly is. But don't fear, Just like there are many budget strategies, there are many debt reduction strategies. And each one they're so different and they're so, you can use them in combination. I don't go into them here, but I do work with my clients to find the best debt reduction strategy for them. And then I work with people as well who can help them if they need credit repair and assistance. I personally am so happy that the conversation around retirement is expanding for all of us. We're all now keenly aware that we pretty much alone are responsible for our own economic circumstances. It wasn't always like that. We all have people in our families, whether they are parents, grandparents, or great grandparents, who retired when they left their job. They got a party, they got a watch, maybe they got a grandfather clock like my father did, and they got income for the rest of their lives. Well, in certain jobs, that can still be the case, but it's very, very rare. They're phasing pensions out. Now it is up to us. So it's really important that we get into this conversation early. And no matter what you call it, retirement is a wonderful time of our lives. And if we all live long enough, we'll get to a point where we don't want to have to work as hard as we do now. Maybe we still do what we do, but we do it because we love it and we do it on our own time and we enjoy the freedom that we have earned by all we're doing now to build it. Okay, ladies, I have a really cool smart money move for you, the Preferred Money Investment Order. In his book, Tax Free Retirement, Patrick Kelly talks about the best strategies for investing your money. Number one, he talks about free money. What do I mean by free money? Well, in this case, we're talking about the employer's match on your 401k. In many companies, your employer will match up to a certain percentage of your contributions. So let's say your employer matches up to 3% of your contributions into your IRA. Definitely, definitely. Why would you not strive to contribute up to that point? Now, anything above the employer's match, that's when you really sit down and say, is this going to be in my best interest? If they match up to 6%, is it in my best interest to contribute 10% of my income into my 401k? That's a conversation you should have with your financial professional. It's part of your overall financial strategy, and there may be some other things that you could best do with those funds. Let's look at tax-free money. When we're talking about tax-free money, we're talking about money that can be invested into a Roth IRA, cash value life insurance, or municipal bonds. I specialize in the tax-free wealth accumulation model of life insurance, and I work with a team of financial professionals that cover all other areas. What we do is we really want to help people maximize their wealth building while reducing and or eliminating their tax burden over time. Next, we want to look at tax deferred money. Now, this is on the other end of your 401k. So 401ks, that's a tax deferred vehicle, meaning you don't pay taxes on it now, but you will pay taxes when you start to take dis, disbursements. And that can be a heavy burden. There's a myth around this tax deferred model because people really believe that, oh, I'm going to be in such a low tax bracket. When I get into my 70s and 80s, I'll be older, I'll hardly pay any taxes. And that is just not so. So many people are finding out, and when you do a financial plan, you'll get to see how much taxes you'll actually pay and in which tax bracket you'll be in those later years. It can be very significant and surprising and not in a good way. So we move to taxable money, and that is like your mutual funds and things like that, where you're using your current money and you've already paid taxes on it. Now we're going to take a look at one of the most powerful smart money moves, the magic of compound interest. I'm sure that many of you are familiar with this, but I think it's worth going over at the same time. So we're going to tell a story about a couple, Mark and Jill. They both want to save for their retirement. They both want to retire when they're 65, and they both want to contribute $2,000 into this vehicle that is going to earn them 10% in compound interest. So great. All things are equal. But let's take a look to see if they had the same outcomes, and if they didn't, who had the best strategy. Jill decided that she wanted to start contributing to her plan at the age of 19, and she contributed for 8 years for a total of $16,000 into her plan. She had over $1 million when she retired at the age of 65. Mark, on the other hand, he dilly-dallied and procrastinated. He was a bit of a frat boy, so he did not get started until he was 27. Mark contributed until he was 65. He put in a total of $78,000 into his investment. But when he was 65, he only had $883,000 available in his account. So why did Jill put in less and earn so much more? Well, for one thing, we have to account for the impact of time on the compounding of interest. The more time that an investment has to compound, the greater the potential return will be. According to Investopedia, simple interest is calculated on the principal or amount, or just on the basic amount, and that's it. Compound interest, on the other hand, is calculated on not only the principal amount, but also on the accumulated interest of periods over periods of time. So effectively, you're earning interest on your interest. I mean, please, let's not leave money on the table. The moral in this case is to start early, be consistent, and make your payments automatic. You will really, really be glad you did. Ladies, how balanced is your wealth building strategy? Are you jumping on the latest trends, or are you intentionally planning for a balanced tax strategy by putting your money in the taxable, tax now, tax deferred, also known as tax later, and the tax free or tax never buckets? It's really, really important that you understand this factor about money. Ladies, we've got another smart money move, and this one is about how to win at the money game. Have you ever heard the expression, it's not how much you make that counts, but it's how much you keep? And then Robert Kiyosaki added to that, and he says, and for how many generations it continues to work for you? Or have you heard of this quote, you can't win the game if you don't know the rules? I love this because on the next slide, you're going to see that there are simple, clear, and easy to apply rules about money in this country. They aren't tricky, they aren't hard, and they aren't even a secret. It's just that nobody ever told you what they were. This slide is a representation of the three buckets that we talked about earlier, the taxable, tax deferred, and tax favored or tax-free bucket. But then in this slide, you'll see that it goes into detail about what's included in each category. So I'm pretty sure that if you look at this, you'll know that you have investments in some of these categories. What you want to make sure is that you don't have all of your investments in the taxable category, and you certainly don't want to have all of your investments in the tax deferred category, even though the tax deferred category is the one that most Americans are using. That is where most of us are putting our assets for retirement. Now, as I said before, the fallacy with this is that we're going to be in such, this tax deferred, conversation doesn't really apply to me because I'm pretty sure I won't have to pay much when I'm older, but that is not true. Unfortunately, many people who are striving to be 401k millionaires at the end of the day, there are only going to be 600,000 heirs because if you accumulate the wealth that you desire, you're more than likely going to be in the highest tax bracket, which could be, in this case, 40%. So right off the top, Uncle Sam owns 40% of your $1 million retirement plan. That is just what it is. So even though this is an effective way to plan for retirement, it should really not be the only way that we plan for retirement because we're going to drown in taxes. And that can be really devastating and can be a real impact on your investments when you can least afford it. We should also make sure that we have money in this tax favored bucket. A lot of people are starting Roth IRAs, which is perfect. You can even have a Roth version of your 401k. Talk with your benefit plan advisor, talk with your financial plan advisor, and let's talk about how you can get started in this bucket. Definitely want to get a Roth IRA, but as you're young and healthy, and if you want to take advantage of the ability to overfund your life insurance in order to get that maximum wealth accumulation, consider using that and all the other benefits that I talked about with life insurance earlier to get the best of all worlds with a life insurance, cash value permanent life insurance policy for that tax-free bucket. I know you probably have a lot of questions about this. You see people online all day, every day, talking about banking on yourself, but you really have to be careful about uh, the company that you're working with, the producer or broker that you're working with. They really need to understand how these plans need to be structured to be effective and long lasting. Ladies, we are at step 9, protecting your assets. There's one thing I really must impress upon you is that you are your biggest and most important asset. So it becomes imperative that you protect your life, your wealth, and your legacy by having certain things in place. We've talked about making sure you have personal life insurance, disability insurance to protect your income, long-term care insurance if it makes sense for your personal situation, and robust estate planning as part of your comprehensive wealth building strategy. I work with my clients to make sure that they get the most affordable options available in all of these areas. Now, I know that there are several people watching this presentation. Some of you haven't saved anything, and you may be slightly panicking. Some haven't saved enough. Some are perfectly on track, and some of you don't want to think about it. I understand. I was there myself. But once I understood how important it was to have smart money management practices, and I started taking started getting the knowledge and applying the knowledge, it made things so much easier. Wherever you are in this process, consider working with a professional, someone that you feel that you can talk to, and there are no, of course, there are no stupid questions, and there's nothing too small that you can ask. You want someone who's going to listen, who's going to educate you along the way and guide you to help you build a comprehensive strategy that's going to get you back on track. It's possible. Okay, so you've missed the boat. You are way off track. Matter of fact, you didn't even know there was a boat. That's how bad you feel things are. But there's always something you can do. And one of the quickest things you can do today is take a look at your expenses. Pull several months, maybe 3 months of your bank statements. Sit down, get everything categorized, and see where you're spending the most money, and see where you can start to cut. That's one of the first things you can do. You can also, on your job, see what it would take for you to qualify for a raise, a promotion, or another position that may increase your income. Number 2, if you're in retirement or approaching retirement, make a decision. Maybe you want to work a second or part-time job before or during your retirement. If your employer has an employer retirement program, make sure that you join now. If you haven't contributed before, start as soon as possible. Talk to see whether you can join now or whether you have to wait for the next open enrollment period. You also want to, fourthly, save, save, save. Save as much as you can. As my grandmother would say, even if it's a nickel, every time you get paid. Make that automatic and pay yourself first. You also want to begin to have a separate emergency fund, some place where you can get to your cash easily so that you aren't tempted to put more debt onto your credit cards. You also may want to postpone your retirement or phase out of your retirement. Just maybe work at your job part-time, not work, as many hours. And you also want to decide when you want to take your Social Security. I know sometimes you feel like you have to take it as early as possible, and many times that is the best strategy. But for each year that you wait to take your Social Security, you get an 8% increase in that income, and that income is lifetime. If you take it early, you don't get the increase when you get to that next age. It doesn't work that way. So you must be strategic about when you take your Social Security. And then I mentor students, women from my alma mater, and I always talk to them about what are their other interests. They're going into a career, but I really believe that you need to be thinking about the skills and hobbies that you have and be prepared to monetize those. I'm starting them off thinking about additional streams of income really early because that's really a necessity nowadays. So if that's the case for you, the gig economy has been so helpful to people. Look at what happened during the pandemic. Many people sustained themselves by starting a small business, an online business. They drive for Uber or Amazon or Instacart. Those are now professions that are extremely respectable, and people are making a living doing those. So don't knock it out. Think about those as a way to earn income as well. Ladies, now we get to recap everything that we've talked about. In addition to talking about the unique challenges we face as women when it comes to building wealth in this country, we also looked at 9 steps that we can use to powerfully position ourselves to be successful in this journey. The first one was minding our mindset. We have to be very diligent to become aware of where we are and then take the steps so that we can grow personally and professionally. It's vital. It's going to determine how everything else flows. Secondly, we looked at being a powerful visionary, understanding what our dreams are, and then looking at how we can increase our finances over time in each decade of life so that those goals become achievable. We also looked at creating a financial plan to take a long term look at our financial strategies over time to see whether or not they'll be effective. The big thing with putting together a financial plan is to see if we will outlive our money or if our money will be there for us when we need it. Then number 4, we talked about budgeting. There are many, many methods to budgeting, and I didn't go into detail with them here because it really depends on the person. But budgeting is what's going to be that's going to be your financial plan is going to be your long-term goals. Your budgeting is for the immediate future to help you track and be successful with those goals. Then number 5, we looked at saving and starting an emergency fund. Step 6, we talked about reducing your debt and how important that was. There's several strategies that you can use to reduce your debt. That really depends on the person's pain tolerance, what they're willing to, how disciplined they're willing to be. But there are strategies that fit every personality and every goal. We also looked at maximizing your retirement savings, and we talked about several different smart money moves that you can make to help you to do that, to help you do the best you can to accumulate as much as you can for your retirement. We looked at diversifying your investment portfolio, making sure that you have money in all three of those buckets. And a financial planner, financial professional can help you to do that. And then lastly, we talked about protecting your assets, with your number one asset being you. Okay, so I have a simple question. Are you ready to get started? Are you ready to get started on your wealth building journey? If so, let me know. Ladies, on this page, you're going to see three really cool features that I wanted to make sure I went over with you today. One is a tool called 9 to Know. These are 9 simple questions that you can answer in 5 minutes, but it will generate a report to show you where you stand in your financial journey and if you'll have the retirement of your dreams or if you could potentially outlive your money. You can scan the QR code and the bit.ly URL link is right under that. On the right-hand side is the QR code to my website. Please come take a look. You can see, you'll learn quite a bit about financial planning. I also have resources for businesses to protect and grow your business. And we there's some, and you'll see what programs and plans and events that I'm offering. You'll also have an opportunity to book a free complimentary consultation with me. And coming soon is my ebook. It's called The Sexy Side of Life Insurance, What Our Parents Never Knew. And this is where I go into all of the magical, wonderful features that I talked about earlier with life insurance. I am convinced that if enough of us had had the properly structured life insurance, taking advantage of this Section 7702 um, program, then we could have sustained ourselves during the pandemic. We could have gone to our life insurance to replace our income for a year. We could have paid our mortgages. If you owned a business, you could have maybe continued to pay some of your employees and sustained your business over time. That that is how serious life insurance can be. So please take a look, and in the next page you'll see how you can contact me. Before we leave, I want to say thank you for attending Smart Money Moves, simple strategies to help savvy women build wealth at every stage of life. I enjoyed sharing this information with you, and I look forward to connecting with each and every one of you to see how I can support you and your business on your financial journey. Schedule a complimentary wealth planning consultation, and let's see how we can work together to design the future of your dreams.